Hello, people of grace. 2 weeks ago, we finished our series on the book of Daniel, and last week, Rodrigo preached. And this Sunday coming up, we're going to be taking maybe a 2 week break. What in the book of Psalms might be called a Selah or a pause. That's our best guess as to what the Selah was. As you were going through a psalm, you would see the word Selah, and you're supposed to just take a step back and reflect and contemplate. And that's what we're going to be doing this Sunday. And so, as we head into this Sunday, and we're actually going to be looking at Psalm 131 a little bit this Sunday, and consider where are we as a local church, as a community of faith, with how long we've been in COVID now, what do we see going forward, who are we, how are we doing, what do we maybe foresee ourselves being and doing as we come out of this. That's all going to be this Sunday. And just like I said, an opportunity to step back and reflect a little bit. So, in light of that, and in light of Psalm 131 talking about how I have calmed and quieted my soul, I wanted to just take a couple minutes to look at 1 Peter 2, verses 1 and 2, where as Paul starts coaching Timothy on how to pastor a church, he says, "First of all, then, first things first, I urge Timothy, as I'm coaching you to coach the church, I'm urging you, Timothy, to encourage the people. I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way." So we're praying for those in authority to try to use their authority to structure our culture in a way that makes it easier for us to live the Christian life and a good life. But we're kind of on the hook to do that regardless of what the kings do. Remember, when Paul writes this to Timothy, Nero is the king. So, yes, we pray for them, but the end of this verse is what I wanted to focus on, where it says that we may lead a peaceful life, a quiet life, a godly life, a dignified life. And part of what helps us do that is we pray for those who are in leadership. We want to be for those who have authority, even if that person is a Nero. But regardless of that part of it, whatever they do or don't do, however responsive their soul ends up being to our prayers or not responsive to our prayers, we want to be peaceful, we want to be quiet, we want to be godly, and we want to be dignified. And that last one, peaceful, okay, that makes sense. Quiet is this idea of not turned up. Doesn't mean you don't speak. It just means that you, even when you're speaking, you're coming from a place of quietness and tranquility or peacefulness. That peacefulness and quietness of soul helps you hear God more clearly, that still small voice. So now you have a more godly life. And when you put those three together, then you can live a dignified life. And we think of dignified as kind of stiff and formal, but it really is more, this person has put together this kind of peacefulness of soul, quietness of soul, God-centeredness of soul, that they actually have an inner characteristic about them that draws a more reverent, respectful response out of other people. Now, they can resist that and not respond reverently or respectfully. People can always do that. But you're trying to cultivate kind of a posture of your soul that is weighty, that people interact with you and it just draws from them a sense of respectfulness and reverence even. That's a very powerful testimony without saying a word. We quote him often on this point, but Francis of Assisi said, preach always. When necessary, use words. If we are quieting our souls, even in a crazy political time, even in a pandemic time, even in a racial tension time, if we are peaceful in our souls, if we are quiet in our souls, if we are stepping back and centering on God, we end up with a dignified state of being that actually goes beyond words and reaches into other people's souls and becomes a means of God's grace to draw more respect and reverence out of them. And they may respond or not respond to that grace and that means of grace. But I would submit to the people of grace that if we have a peaceful, quiet, godly, dignified soul, we're going to be in a better place anyway. And in the end, that's all we can control. But the beauty of it is if we stay in a better place and we are being who God has called us to be, and then doing good things from that good place of being, we can become instruments of His grace to help draw that out of other people. And that's a beautiful thought and an encouraging one. So be encouraged, be a person of grace. I look forward to sharing more with you this Sunday. Have a blessed evening.